Ambassador Raj Patel tried not to fidget as he stood before the massive doors of the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber. After humanity's first contact with the Ixthal species 3 years ago, this was Earth's formal introduction to the wider galactic community. The weight of representing 8 billion humans pressed heavily on his shoulders. The doors, seemingly carved from living crystal, parted silently. Raj straightened his spine and walked forward, accompanied by his science advisor, Dr. Isabella Martinez, and Security Chief Commander James Wong. The chamber stretched upward into darkness, with curved tiers holding representatives from over 200 species. High Counselor Enveric, a towering figure with iridescent scales, rose from the central podium. "Welcome, representatives of Earth. We are pleased to formally recognize humanity's petition to join the Galactic Council." The traditional welcome ceremony proceeded smoothly until the ritual sharing of sustenance. Each species was expected to share a traditional beverage with the council members. Raj proudly presented their offering, a thermos of hot coffee, one of Earth's most celebrated drinks. The chamber erupted in chaos as the alien biochemists analyzed the sample. "Impossible," declared Chief Analyst Zixtal, their crystalline form flickering with alarm. "This beverage contains multiple Class 3 neurotoxins, including a powerful stimulant compound." "Coffee," Isabella whispered to Raj. "It's just coffee." The council members watched in horror as Commander Wong casually poured himself a cup and took a long sip. "Excellent brew, Ambassador," he said with a slight smile. "Single origin Ethiopian." High Counselor Enveric's scales had shifted to a pale blue of concern. "You willingly consume this poison for pleasure." "It's not poison to us," Raj explained carefully. "Human biochemistry is quite different. Caffeine actually helps us focus and be more productive." "Fascinating and disturbing," muttered Representative Clone of the Vree Collective, their tentacles writhing in agitation. "What other substances do humans regularly consume?" Isabella pulled up a holographic display of common human foods and beverages. The council's reaction to chocolate, alcohol, and spicy peppers nearly caused another uproar. Several species representatives had to excuse themselves when they learned about humans eating fermented foods. "You allow your sustenance to deliberately rot before consuming it," demanded one horrified delegate. "We call it aging or fermentation," Reg explained. "It's perfectly safe for us and often considered a delicacy, like cheese, wine, or kimchi." The council chambers buzzed with urgent discussions in dozens of languages. High Counselor Enveric finally raised all 4 hands for silence. "This is unprecedented. No known sentient species consumes substances of this nature. We must consider the implications." "With respect, High Counselor," Reg said carefully, "our ability to process these substances is part of what makes us human. Our adaptability, including our diverse diet, has helped us survive and thrive on Earth." "Indeed," Enveric replied thoughtfully, "though it raises serious questions about safety protocols for interspecies contact. We cannot risk accidental exposure to human consumables." As the council debated, Reg noticed several younger alien diplomats watching with fascination as Commander Wong finished his coffee. One of them, a junior Ixthal delegate, quietly approached their group. "Is it true," they whispered, "that humans can eat something called ghost peppers and survive?" "Some humans even enjoy them," Isabella replied with a smile. The young delegate's antenna quivered with excitement. "Remarkable. I have so many questions about human consumption patterns." By the end of the session, the council had established a special committee to study human biochemistry and create new safety protocols. As they left the chamber, Reg couldn't help but smile at the thought that humanity's first major impact on galactic society would be through their eating and drinking habits. "Well," Commander Wong said dryly as they headed back to their ship, "that went better than expected. Though I think we should wait a while before telling them about competitive eating contests." Isabella laughed. "Oh, but some humans eat fugu fish, knowing it could kill them if prepared incorrectly." "One step at a time," Reg replied, already thinking about their next diplomatic challenge. "Though I have a feeling our unique relationship with food and drink might turn out to be one of humanity's greatest assets in galactic relations." As their ship departed the council station, news was already spreading through the galaxy about the strange new species that drank poison for pleasure and deliberately ate spoiled food. Humanity's reputation for being frightening and fascinating in equal measure was just beginning. 6 months after humanity's dramatic introduction to the Galactic Council, Reg found himself facing an even greater diplomatic challenge. The Zarkenian Empire, known throughout the galaxy for their militant stance on species superiority, had issued a formal protest against Earth's inclusion in galactic trade routes. "They claim we're too dangerous to be trusted," Reg explained during an emergency meeting aboard the diplomatic vessel Terrestrial Dawn. "Apparently, the fact that we can metabolize substances toxic to other species makes us a biological hazard." "That's ridiculous," Commander Wong scoffed, examining the official complaint on his datapad. "We've implemented every safety protocol they demanded. All human consumables are clearly marked and stored in separate facilities." Dr. Isabella Martinez looked up from her analysis of Zarkenian biology. "It's not really about safety. They're using this as an excuse. The Zarkenians have dominated the neutral zone trade routes for centuries. They don't want competition." A soft chime announced an incoming transmission. The holographic form of High Counselor, Enveric materialized in the center of the conference room. "Ambassador Patel, the situation has escalated. The Zarkenian Supreme Commander, Vraxel, has invoked the right of ceremonial challenge." Reg felt his stomach sink. What exactly does that entail? "They demand a representative of Earth participate in their sacred feast of ascension." Envaric's scales shifted to a deep purple of concern. "It is not a mere dining ceremony. The dishes served are designed to test the limits of biological endurance." "You mean it's designed to poison the participants?" Isabella interjected. "Essentially, yes. Though no permanent harm is allowed, the experience is extremely unpleasant for most species. Many withdraw within moments, accepting diplomatic defeat." Commander Wong leaned forward. "What happens if we refuse?" "The Zarkenians would have legal grounds to block Earth's trade routes through the neutral zone. It would effectively isolate humanity from half the galaxy." Raj squared his shoulders. "Then we accept. I'll take the challenge myself." "With respect, Ambassador," interrupted a new voice, "I should do it." Lieutenant Priya Kapoor, their cultural attaché, stepped forward. The young diplomat had been quietly observing until now. "I grew up in a family of Indian restaurateurs. I've been eating ghost peppers since I was 12. My tolerance for extreme flavors is somewhat legendary in diplomatic circles." 3 days later, Priya stood in the great hall of the Zarkenian flagship, surrounded by representatives from 24 species. Supreme Commander Vraxel, his scaled armor gleaming under the ceremonial lights, towered over her. "The Feast of Ascension has 3 trials," he announced, his voice resonating through the chamber. "Few survive the first. None have ever completed all 3. Do you withdraw now, human?" Priya smiled politely. "I look forward to experiencing your cuisine, Supreme Commander." The first dish looked like writhing blue flames in a bowl. The alien spectators moved back as it was served, their environmental suits sealing automatically against the fumes. "The breath of Cathal," Vraxel announced, "harvested from the plasma vents of our homeworld's deepest oceans." Preya lifted the bowl and inhaled deeply, causing several aliens to gasp. "Interesting. Similar to wasabi, but with notes of volcanic sulfur." She drank it in one smooth motion. The chamber fell silent, waiting for her collapse. Instead, Preya dabbed her lips with a napkin. "Invigorating. Shall we continue?" The second dish, a crystalline structure that emitted a high-pitched whine, was called Desert's Fury. The crystals vibrate at a frequency that causes intense discomfort in most digestive systems, Vraxel explained, his confidence slightly shaken. "Reminds me of pop rocks," Preya commented as she crunched through it. "Though I prefer the strawberry flavor." By the time the third dish arrived, a black substance that seemed to absorb light, the Zarkanian Supreme Commander's composure had cracked. "This is Shadow's Heart, distilled from the psychic plants of the Nox Nebula," Preya finished. "The compounds are similar to some earth fungi, quite mild compared to a good Scotch bonnet pepper." As she finished the final dish, the chamber erupted in chaos. Some aliens were cheering, others were backing away in terror, and the Zarkanian delegation looked thoroughly shaken. "Impossible," Vraxel whispered. "No species has ever, have did you?" "Supreme Commander," Preya said, rising from her seat, "humanity's strength lies in our adaptability. What you consider unsurvivable, we might find enjoyable. Perhaps instead of feeling our differences, we could learn from each other." The story of the human who conquered the Feast of Ascension spread rapidly through the galaxy. Within weeks, the Zarkanians withdrew their protest, though they requested a permanent ban on human street food vendors near their embassies. Back on the terrestrial dawn, Raj raised a glass to Preya. "That was either the bravest or most reckless diplomatic move I've ever seen." Preya shrugged, adding extra hot sauce to her dinner. "Just wait until they discover Earth's competitive eating contests. Then they'll really have something to worry about." The space station, Nexus 7, hummed like a glittering spider web at the edge of neutral space, its sprawling arms hosting the largest interspecies market in the quadrant. In the 6 months since the legendary Feast of Ascension, humanity's peculiar consumption habits had become something of a galactic sensation. Deep in the station's lower levels, Security Chief Diane Rodriguez followed her scanner readings through a maze of maintenance corridors. Another unauthorized human consumables dealer, she reported to her neural link. "Level 42, Section H. Third one this week." Commander Worm's voice crackled in her ear. "The station authorities are getting nervous." Diane paused at a junction, her scanner picking up traces of capsaicin. "Can't blame them. Some of these underground dealers are selling everything from hot sauce to energy drinks without proper containment protocols." The black market for human consumables had exploded after Preya's victory over the Zarkanians. Despite strict regulations, alien species had become fascinated with testing their own tolerance for human foods and drinks. The results were usually disastrous. Rounding a corner, Diane found what she was looking for. A makeshift shop had been set up in an abandoned maintenance bay. The proprietor, a Vexry with shifting chromatic scales, froze at the sight of her uniform. "Official inspection," Diane announced, scanning the shelves. Her eyes widened. "Is that Mountain Dew? Finest human neural stimulant," the Vexry said proudly. "Very popular with Andromdan scholars. They say it enhances cognitive function." "It's soda," Diane corrected, checking the safety seals. and you're selling it as a performance enhancer. Look at ingredients. The dealer pulled up a holographic display. Complex sugars, caffeine, mysterious yellow 5 compound. Many species report intense energy surge. Before Diane could respond, her scanner began screaming. In the corner, a group of young Ixthol were huddled around what appeared to be. "Is that a bottle of Tabasco sauce?" she demanded. "Ceremonial courage ritual," the Vexry explained nervously. "Very controlled environment." One of the Ixthol looked up, their antenna vibrating with excitement. "Officer, you are human. Please explain sacred Scoville scale to us." "That's it," Diane sighed, activating her neural link. "Station security, I need a containment team at my location. And someone from medical, just in case." Hours later, in Ambassador Puttle's office aboard the human diplomatic section of Nexus 7, an emergency meeting was underway. 3 cases of temporary paralysis, 5 instances of hyperactivity requiring medical intervention, and 1 Medusan who apparently experienced religious visions after consuming something called sugar-free gummy bears. Dr. Isabella Martinez read from her report. "The station council is threatening to ban all human consumables," Raj said, rubbing his temples. "Can't say I blame them." "It's not just thrill seekers," Isabella interjected. "I've been analyzing the data. Some species are discovering genuine benefits from controlled exposure to human foods. The Andromedans weren't entirely wrong about caffeine enhancing their cognitive processes." Commander Wong leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we try to legitimize this?" Under strict medical supervision, Isabella nodded. "We could establish a research foundation, study the effects properly, develop safe dosage guidelines for different species. Turn a diplomatic crisis into a scientific opportunity," Raj mused. "But we'll need support from the Galactic Council." "Already ahead of you," a new voice chimed in. Preya entered the office, her tablet displaying multiple signatures. "Remember that young Ixthol delegate from the council? They've been advocating for a formal study of human biochemistry. Half the Science Council has signed on." "And the Zarkenians?" Wong asked. Officially opposed, Priya smiled, "but I heard their military quietly requested information about human performance enhancers. Apparently, they're very interested in coffee." "So we're really doing this?" Diane asked. "Establishing a formal framework for aliens to experiment with human food." "Better than the alternative," Raj said. "At least this way we can control it, study it, make it safe." He paused, considering. "Though perhaps we should delay introducing them to Earth's more extreme culinary experiments." "Agreed," Isabella said quickly. "The galaxy's definitely not ready for sorcering." As the meeting concluded, news of the proposed Human Consumables Research Initiative was already spreading through Nexus 7. In the station's bustling corridors, legitimate vendors began preparing for a new era of carefully regulated interspecies culinary exchange. The Vexry dealer, now sporting an official license and safety certification, had already changed his shop's name to Terrestrial Tastes and was enthusiastically explaining the concept of spice tolerance to a fascinated group of alien customers. Above his counter, a sign read, "Warning! All products rated on the Universal Sonobiological Safety Scale. No refunds for spontaneous bioluminescence." Dr. Junko Tanaka stared at her lab results in disbelief. What had started as a routine analysis of human-alien consumption patterns had led to something extraordinary. "Run it again," she instructed her AI assistant. "Full spectrum analysis." The holographic display pulsed as it reprocessed the data from the Human Consumables Research Initiative. After 6 months of controlled studies, they discovered something unprecedented. Certain combinations of human foods were having unexpected therapeutic effects on alien physiologies. The lab door slid open as Isabella Martinez rushed in. "Junko, tell me you're seeing this too. The Centaurian tissue samples are showing cellular regeneration," Junko finished. "And it's not just them. Look at this." She expanded the holographic display, showing results from multiple species. The compounds in ordinary human fermented foods are triggering healing responses in nearly 40% of tested alien biologics. It's the probiotics, Isabella realized. Combined with the natural preservatives, we've accidentally created the most effective broad-spectrum healing agent in known space. The discovery spread through the medical community like wildfire. What humans had taken for granted, the health benefits of fermented foods, was revolutionary to species that had never evolved to process such substances. Within weeks, the Galactic Medical Council convened an emergency session. Junko found herself presenting to an audience of the galaxy's leading medical minds. "The implications are staggering," she explained. "Simple compounds found in human kimchi, kombucha, and kefir are showing promise in treating conditions that have plagued other species for millennia." Not everyone was enthusiastic. Traditional alien medical practitioners warned against rushing to embrace human biological warfare agents as medicine. The Zarkanian Medical Corps officially denounced the research as dangerous propaganda. But the results were undeniable. In carefully controlled trials, diluted human probiotics were healing radiation sickness in andromedans, reversing cellular degradation in ichthyo, and even treating psychological conditions in crystalline species. "We're not just talking about medicine," Junko told Ambassador Peto during a private briefing. "This could revolutionize xenobiology as we know it. The way human bodies process these substances, it's forcing us to rethink everything we thought we knew about interspecies biochemistry." 1 year after humanity's dramatic introduction to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Raj Patel stood once again in the Grand Chamber. This time he wasn't alone. Behind him stood representatives from dozens of species, all beneficiaries of what was now called the Human Biological Integration Initiative. "We stand at a crossroads," Raj began. "A year ago, our differences seemed insurmountable. Our eating habits were seen as dangerous, our biochemistry as a threat. Today, those same differences have opened new doors of understanding. The chamber, once a place of suspicion toward humanity, now buzzed with supportive energy. Even the Zarkanians, though still officially opposed, had quietly established their own human consumables research division. High Chancellor Envaric rose from the central podium, scales shimmering with approval. The Council recognizes Earth's contributions to galactic medicine and cross-species understanding. The proposed interspecies culinary and medical exchange program has been approved. Across the galaxy, regulated human food markets were replacing black market dealers. Special restaurants catered to adventurous aliens wanting to safely experience human cuisine. Research centers studied the medical applications of human biochemistry, while cultural exchange programs taught the art of human cooking to interested species. On Nexus 7, Lieutenant Priya Kapoor hosted the first officially sanctioned interspecies cooking class. "Today, we're starting with something simple," she told her diverse group of students. "Basic fermentation techniques." In the medical wing, Dr. Junko Tanaka and her team continued to unlock new possibilities, while Commander Wong's security forces worked with alien authorities to establish safe consumption protocols. The Vexery dealer, now a legitimate businessman, had expanded to 3 locations across the station. His shops featured sophisticated containment systems and on-site medical monitoring, a far cry from the early days of underground hot sauce tastings. Back in the council chamber, Reg concluded his address. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our adaptability. We don't just survive our challenges, we transform them into opportunities. Today, what once divided us has become a bridge between species. As the chamber erupted in approval, Rage caught sight of the young Ixthal delegate who had first shown curiosity about ghost peppers. They were now head of the Xenobiological Research Committee, their initial fascination with human consumption having launched a revolutionary field of study. "You know what this means," Commander Wong muttered as they left the chamber. "They're going to want to try everything now." "Not everything," Reg smiled. "I think we'll keep certain Earth delicacies to ourselves for now. The galaxy's not quite ready for durian." "Or century eggs," Priya added. "One step at a time," Isabella agreed. "Though I have to admit, I never thought humanity's first great contribution to galactic civilization would be our weird eating habits." As their ship departed the council station, Raj reflected on the unexpected journey. What had begun as a potential diplomatic disaster had evolved into something remarkable. A new understanding between species, built on the simple human act of sharing food. In the galactic archives, the period would become known as the Human Consumption Revolution, marking the beginning of a new era of interspecies cooperation and discovery. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, a young alien was probably trying their first carefully regulated taste of mint chocolate chip ice cream, adding another small thread to the tapestry of understanding between worlds.